Are recording.
Hello, everyone. My name is Veronda Pitchford, as you can see on the screen. I work for a consortium of libraries. I'm the assistant director there called CALIFA, consortium of libraries across California. I've done a lot of work with small and rural libraries. I've been at CALIFA about a year and a half, but in Illinois, I had a lot of fun and learned a lot from small and rural libraries there. I want to thank you all for joining us, first of all, and I want to remind everyone today that this session is being recorded. We'll do our best, because we have 30 short minutes to be together, so we'll do our best to get the most information, and I'll share my email at the end for follow-up, and my Twitter handle's in the chat if you want to tweet me after this session. This session is being sponsored by the San Jose State University School of Information. And for folks just joining us, be sure to turn your video off. We want to just have as much time and as much bandwidth for everyone. Okay, so I wanted to start with a welcome. And I did a welcome to the team because in my opinion, learning begins with knowing who and what your resources are. And I'd encourage you to check out folks around you, be they around you virtually or right next door. For folks who might be interested in learning some of the same things you are, some people need a learning accountability buddy like myself. Others want to learn on their own, but I just want to make that an option. I put this slide, ideas equal learning, because I have always thought I've always heard have a learning plan. I'm wondering if anybody else has heard that. And every time I try to do a learning plan, it's either I'm too busy, or just I don't have time to do it, or I just don't even know what to put in it. So what I recommend is people having an idea journal. And as you have ideas about things you want to do for your library or things you want, services you want to have or whatever, just keep track of those ideas in an idea journal. And that can become where you look to learning ideas. Now, you can also use them with your team meetings to say, okay, well, to see what you can learn together. It's an idea to have staff come together and have learning journals as well. So of ideas they've kept, so that you can start to share those and maybe learn something together. It's just an idea. So our next slide, I wanted to start with, and this is all resources all the time is what this session should have been called. And I have my eye on the chat. So Cindy, if you have a question, I assume you're referring to a learning plan when you said no. Which is okay, just get a journal and it'll be fun that way. It'll be more fun, you can get a cute journal. So let's start with Wyoming, our friends at the, at the Wyoming State Library. And this is the place to look for what's coming up, not just in Wyoming, but around the country. Their library karma is to share a list of all the trainings going on across the country. So this is a place to look regularly, and they link you right out to the training. The one thing I'd say is it doesn't tell you if they're free or not, and I'm more focused on the free as a budget-friendly girl myself. So that's one thing, but they're doing such a great job. I do not mean to criticize that list, but it's a great place to look for training. Now, what I want to do is to go through some places to find training and how to use it. So InfoPeople is the training arm of my organization. And what we do is do online training for anybody, anywhere, for library people everywhere. We have free webinars all the time, and we also offer multi-week courses for fees to go in depth on a topic. Now, for the multi-week courses that you have to pay for, we always have 5 free seats for rural libraries at all times. CALIFA is very committed to the learning needs of rural libraries, so we always have 5 free seats. Now, what you'll see on each slide is I'm going to tell you the cost of the things, what to check out. So we had 2 wonderful, and I say wonderful because I moderated one of them, Find Free webinars. and we were sure to include our friends from rural libraries on the panel of folks going fine free. And actually, just a little secret, and I shouldn't let this be recorded, the rural libraries, and I had them with very large libraries, had been fine free far longer than the larger libraries. So they had so much experience and done so much in that area. And that's my experience working with rural libraries, that they've been doing it all along. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of or worked with WebJunction. Of course, they're all free all the time, and who doesn't love that? I try to also give you, you'll see on these lists, what you can find, what you can do for as a good webinar to start with. So in this case, it's the Power of Small, How Rural Libraries Help Their Communities Thrive webinar. And so that's a good place to start if you're interested in checking out WebJunction's resources, okay? Let's go to the next one. Okay, now what I didn't know is that there are a lot of free resources available from all parts of ALA, from the American Library Association. One thing, and you see I put some here under the cost, but what you can do, and you'll see under insider info, is to look for the tag that says free for the webinar. So some will say free and some won't. So that's what you'll need to look for. Now, there are also free webinars from ALA's e-learning section, their Office for Diversity, and from a few other divisions as well. They don't use this same structure of on-demand webinar and free, but they do have free stuff. So it's another good place to look. And again, I seem to be rocking through this, so please feel free to put questions in the chat. Okay, here is Encompass from Nebraska, and they have all free all the time as well. I was so excited to see the way that state libraries are supporting all of us, not just libraries in their state, with free resources. And again, we have Big Time Library Support and Small Towns webinar is a place to check out for a start for a webinar. Okay. Now, this one is also all free all the time. And you'll see a webinar I said to check out. And they have a ton. This inclusive library series is really great. And they have lots of different waves. I saw that one of you, and I can't remember your name, does outreach to seniors. They specifically had something on that. So there are lots of places to look for free resources and doing outreach at Texas State Library. Okay, I want to spend a minute on this slide, and you'll see that, and I call them non-library places for free learning. One of these is a library place, Pattern Research. I don't know how many of you have heard of Pattern Research. It's a resource, and it's Pat Wagner who runs it. There's a lot of training for the library community. And it's a great place and she is awesome, isn't she? She's very funny too, more important to me. But she does a lot to give back to the library community. And she offers a wonderful set of free webinars for everyone. And you'll see these other places here. I know, and the reason and I want to share a bit about why I included each of these. And welcome, Dina, from Texas State Library. You see we gave you a shout out here. So thanks to you and your team for what you're doing. I want to explain why I chose these. So let's start with Grant Space. Grant Space is a place to find out how to do nonprofit grant writing and to see where grants are. So they have webinars on how to get your grant started, etc. Harvard Business Review is a wonderful place to look for leadership and what I call soft skills training. And Mary, I see your question and we'll circle back to that, okay? So Harvard Business Review is a great place to do soft skills training. Leadership being a big piece of that, but also sometimes how to have difficult conversations, how to negotiate better. They have some great resources on that. The ICMA, and that's the International City Managers Association, and GovLoop are two places that can help with resources. What I'm always trying to do when working with folks is to get in, not to get in the head of librarians, because I feel like I know our heads, but how do we work better with local government? So the City Managers Association and GovLoop shows resources and gives you webinars from a local government perspective and to help understand them better. And that's always helpful when you're going for a new, you want to raise your budget or you need some special funding, understanding what's in the heads and what the kind of top needs are of local government. It's always good to be looking at what they're looking at to learn more. Okay. Okay, I got through this pretty fast. I thought it was going to take longer. So we're going to, we have time. We do have quite a bit of time for questions, in fact. So do people want to put questions in? I'm going to go back for the person who wanted I'm not sure what the small town site is, but I'm assuming what you meant by that is one of the resources that included small town stuff for small towns. Maybe the power of small, how rural libraries are helping communities thrive. But does anyone have questions or want to share resources that they'd like to see as well? I'd love to hear from you if there are resources that any of you use as well.
Veronda, can you go to the next slide for the big town support?
Sure. Big time
Thank you, that
support.
one.
Okay, big time support in small towns. Okay, from our friends at Nebraska. And I'm sure we're going to have an opportunity. Missy, do you know this? If we're going to be sharing the slides out for people to use?
I believe so. I believe they're sending that out with the link tomorrow with the recordings.
Okay, great, great. Also, people will get the recording and they can look at them themselves. Okay, and Beth just shared that Wyoming State Library has a site like Encompass where they share there. I was so excited about Wyoming telling us about everything that, thank you, Beth. I missed that, what else they do as well. Would anybody else like to share resources? Okay, someone else just put in something, a lot of something. Okay. Oh, it's about a conference coming up. Okay. And I presume it's a virtual conference. So I'll let people take a look at that in the information. Yes. Okay. I don't know if I'm assuming it's Dina. The National Library of Medicine is a great place. And thank you. I was remiss in not including it, especially in the times we're in for health-related information. I think all of us already are being asked more about what the National Network of Libraries of Medicine, more about health resources and wanting up-to-date information. So that is an excellent resource for everyone. And Megan was just saying, oh, media literacy from PEN America. Great, great. And she just shared, I believe they just shared that resource as well. Anybody have any questions? And I put my Twitter in there. I will put my email here too. If anybody wants to reach out to me afterward, it may take me a minute to do it. Okay, there's a question. We struggle with getting part-timers to do continuing ed, even though we offer them paid time and resource to do training. How can we get them to do the training? That is a really good question. The one thing I could say is if there was a way to directly relate it to, if it's training directly related to their job, is one way, and also maybe scheduling time, and it would require resources on your part to talk about the training together would be another piece, so people come back and share what they've learned. So that kind of account, one piece is to make it experiential so they have a time to practice it. And the second piece, frankly, is accountability for people to have a moment to talk about the training. I'm so, Beth, this is great. She just shared our webmaster made a game that was a scavenger hunt for our library website. It was fun, and we put it out to the public. I've been looking a lot at the gamification of learning and how we can make it fun. Of course, I'm excited about this for our public, as Beth said, but I'm more excited about it for librarians. So I'd love to hear ways in which you guys, other ways, so thanks for sharing that, Beth, how we can do that to make gamification of learning to make it more fun. And Cindy just shared, I also think it's helpful if you empower part-time staff to do something with their contributing education. If they get to learn how to do all these cool things and don't get to implement them, it can be a bit demoralizing. Thank you. So that's a really good point. And Mary just shared, she likes to print out what is offered the month before they're due, and I let them choose. They can find what they find interesting and beneficial to them and to the community. So yes, that's a great way because it empowers them to pick what they want, as Mary was saying. Does anyone else want to share resources? I saw one of my favorite trainers is on this call, Paul Signorelli. So I don't know if Paul would like to share resources or even resources he has for supporting people. And Deborah was just saying, and I don't know if Deborah was referring to the group, super helpful ideas, thanks. And I presume you mean in the chat. Do you require CE? So is it required for people to do it? That's a good question. That's a really good question. Let's see, and Kathy just shared, I try to tailor what I ask staff to do to their interests and talents. And it gives them incentive to take the training if they can build on skills they have already. And also that gives them a sense of accomplishment and success. When staff first start working for me, I always ask them what they're into and what they want to learn about. And my job is not just to work with them on work stuff, but to foster them professionally and help them grow professionally. And so I always want to know that when I start, and I try to always be looking for opportunities for them. Now, I don't, like 20 people do not report to me, so that's a little easier to do. But that is a great, great, great suggestion. Terry just shared, sometimes it helps to recommend a webinar when a situation may seem especially relevant. One of my staff just did a WebJunction session on dealing with angry patrons, unfortunately. You know, I was going to talk a little bit about this, and I should have, about micro-learning and just-in-time learning, the value of just-in-time learning and what resources are good for that. In terms of just-in-time learning, and I don't know how many of you, I've been talking about Twitter like I'm on it I am on it every day, but I'm a lurker. But it's a great place to connect with people who are doing things and to find out more. So a few more webinar sites from Florida. And ICMA stands for the International City Managers Association. It's kind of a mystery. It's not an intuitive. So yeah. So there's a good way. That's a good resource for you to find stuff. Okay. Paul just shared, the trainer I was telling you about. A lot of opportunities that come with some very reasonable prices. And yes, ALAE Solutions is great for that. Andrew Sanderbeck's PCI webinar is also a great resource. And and the Association for Talent Development. Yes, I've heard of them, but I haven't looked at their stuff myself. They also offer great things, but sometimes they're on the high cost of things. Yeah, on the high side in terms of cost. That's always challenging as well. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Because I know we have 10 minutes. We still have 10 minutes left. So if there are other questions, I'm happy to take them. Will the links people are sharing be available later? Do you know that, Missy, if that's the case? I'm not sure how the chat works. Oh.
Yes, I think they had mentioned that with the meeting, the recording links, they'll add the chat transcripts as well.
That's wonderful. And yes, so that's good to know. And that's a great question. Oh, you know, the reading clubs are also a great way to, I have been wanting to work on that myself. So the idea of maybe reading a chapter or two of a book together and talking about it with people. I'm not sure when you say the first slide, Sarah, which one to which you're referring. I have up the Wyoming slide right now, but I don't know if that's the one you mean. So if you want to let me know if this is it. Yes, and I hope, I know, and this is all for remote learning. I also want to be sure that people do take care of their learning needs. Librarians do so much for so many other people. I had to really push myself to start working on learning for myself. Let's see, what did Paul just shared? So nice to be here with you all. Thanks so much. Let's see, and he is amazing. Esther, yes, Coursera has some really great classes and some of them are free. I've been just starting to check out Coursera and I really like the platform they use. It's called Teachable. It's a really good platform. So, well, and Kelly, I'm happy. It's so funny about what you're asking about learning plans. I hope you're not in love with learning plans, Kelly. I mean, you can be, we can disagree. But what we were saying earlier about learning plans, this is the slide, okay, good. This is a slide we used for learning plans, ideas equal learning. When I was a more ambitious young person 142 years ago, I used to always say, let's have a learning plan. We need a learning plan. Everyone should have a learning plan. Like Oprah, you get a learning plan, you get a learning plan. And I just never did it. And it was just like, ugh. So what I'm into now is just having an idea journal. And just when I think of an idea for like work or a service or something we should be doing, or just something I don't even understand if we should be doing it, but I want to learn more about it to see if we should be doing it. Just keeping a journal of those ideas. And with those ideas, either if you want to, either having a peer group that you share them with, or, and that could be local or virtual, or you could incorporate it in staff meeting or a leadership team meeting and share them together, because it's always great for accountability and for just bouncing ideas off people to learn together, okay? And yes, it was 142 years ago. Melville Dewey and I, classmates, that is true. And Morgan, I like to keep a cute small notebook because it motivates me more to use it. And so let's see. So yes, let's see. Oh, and lynda.com is always great. You know, Lynda and lynda.com is a great resource. We've bumped into a few things in California with them in terms of getting access and how information is being collected. But the lynda.com has some great stuff. I think I took a design thinking. I'm trying to learn more about design thinking. So that's something that I'm doing resources on. I'm looking for resources on. Yeah. And so, you know, I was just going to say, sometimes it's challenging. Lynda.com is not cheap either in my experience. So, okay, Vanessa, does curated lists. Vanessa, it would be great to hear more about that curated list piece, to see what you mean by curated list, to learn a little bit more about it.
And this is our 5-minute warning.
Thank you, Missy.
You're welcome.
You are very inspiring to me. So, list not online yet. Okay, great. So lots of libraries do offer lynda.com. So they're now called LinkedIn Learning, as someone put in. So there are lots of places you could get access to it. It's always wonderful when libraries resource share and work together, so that we can get to resources that may be just a little bit outside of our budget. So that's the power of resource sharing. And Niche Academy is a great resource as well. My organization, InfoPeople, has a lot of great stuff, and I was going to talk about that, available through our Niche Academy model. So that's great. Missy also is talking about Universal Class for patrons and staff. I am not familiar with Universal Class. I don't know if others are. Missy, what is that? If we're just an elevator speech?
Oh goodness, it's just a platform, a learning platform, like lynda.com, and they have like over 500 classes available.
Oh, that's great. That's
that libraries have to subscribe to.
Of course. That's a great one. That's a great one. And WebJunction was one we hit on, and they do a great job with training, and they're doing a great project around, unfortunately, around COVID resources right now. Unfortunate part being COVID. So I think it's time we'll start to wrap up. I want to thank you all for helping me do this class. I always say the power of librarians is so great. So us being able to work together and share resources is really what it's all about. For me, at least selfishly, it's why I do this. And Beth, that's like one more. Learning Express, I don't know why I'm using this voice, Beth. Learning Express is another online platform for use. Okay, so thank you guys so much for being a part of this and sharing your resources. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or need anything else. Thank you. So I really appreciate all of you. And reach out to me if we could ever be a resource to you. And Missy, I am going to try to find what you just sent me, because it slid right by in terms of who I should send my slides to. So I will catch up with that. So I think that if we have 3 more minutes, if anybody wants to share anything else, or if anybody wants me to open up their mic and they could sing a song to everyone. Does anyone want to do that right now? Missy, how about you? Do you want to? Missy, the minute I said that, you muted yourself when I said you should sing.
Absolutely.
We'll practice. We'll do a duet next time, Missy. So we'll have a little practice.
That sounds great. We'll ask Alta too to come on.
She would love it. Oh my goodness. Goodwill has great classes for Beth. Why am I doing this session? You should be doing it. And I do not believe Paul Signorelli that children do not cry when he sings. So that's great, Beth. That is another. And the classes about learning computers obviously are really key now, in the past, now, and forever. So that's always going to be an important skill. So yeah, I think we're all set. Let me know if I could be a resource to you in the future. And thank you. And someone's looking forward to our duet, Missy.
Oh dear.
In your evaluation. I'm kidding. Do not put it in your evaluation. But I love If You're Happy If You Know It and You Know It. That's a good jam right there, Victoria. Thank you. And I love people whose names start with V too. So thank you all for joining us, and I think we'll stop this recording and go from there. Missy, do you need me to stick around for anything?